Man, what is up, YouTube? We got a special episode for y'all today. As y'all know, I've been announcing MCFLYKOF, shoes up, sleeves down, and special guest, actually TJP, DJ DELZ. It was actually the mystery person. And I know the
mystery guy's better than the subject.
Oh, stop it.
And I know Spage will probably come in a little bit later. You know, if anyone has any questions as far as Subway Mania, or if y'all even seen Subway Mania, everybody's links will be in the description down below. And yeah, man, today we're discussing sneakers and some wrestling today, especially since TJP's on. I appreciate him coming through. Appreciate DJ DELZ coming through. McFly and shoes up, sleeves down. And
invite.
Hey, man, anytime. Oh, appreciate it. Thank you. Well, it looks like I'm going to be munching while I do this live.
That's all right. I'm caffeining up myself, so.
I had to go with the old TJP haircut today.
Mine's getting long now, so we're trading.
Hey, man, if you're ever in
Bro,
Houston,
you gonna grow long, bro? You gonna get the mane going or something?
I don't know about a mane, but I mean, I've had it a little long before. I used to have it like, I don't know, Johnny Depp length maybe. You know, not crazy, but a little bit longer. I don't know. We'll see. I've been spiking it forever, so I just want to give it something different a little bit. You know.
I think a lot of people are growing their hair out. I'm not, clearly, but
That's two of us.
but because of this whole, Corona and everything, people ain't going to the barber shops like they used to, and this, that, and the third.
Yeah, I see guys have been getting the beards going and stuff lately. So yeah.
There you go, right there to my. Wait, no, this way.
Yeah, he's up here.
This is pre-COVID.
Yeah. Hey, if you're ever in Houston, TJP, I know exactly where you can go to get a haircut.
No, I'll take you up on that. I always like to find like good spots when I go out of town. I remember last time I was in Texas was for Slammiversary for Impact. We did Dallas, and I had to find a barber out there just to get touched up before the show.
Yeah, I just got back in contact. I just got back in contact with a barber that I had for many years. He actually cuts the Rockets, and basically any basketball team that comes down here, or football teams, they ask around, and he's usually the person that cuts them.
Oh, that's awesome. Actually, I was gonna say on that same trip that I was talking about, I don't know if it was right before we were live, but when I was in the Philippines, I had a media week before jumping into the show, then going on tour in Japan, and there's a barbershop out there that they do like shave and cut and all that. But a lot of the NBA guys, when they do their like camps and like tours over there in the Philippines, they'll go to the spot. It's like in Greenbelt, I think, in the Manila area, and like LeBron has gotten his haircut there. Kobe, when he would go there, like to do his like tour appearances and stuff. So I was like, my agent and like some of the people I was traveling with were like, hey, you got to go to the spot. They didn't tell me until afterward. They're like, yeah, this spot all the guys go to. And I remember I was sitting in a chair and I see all this like NBA stuff and just like all kinds of stuff. Everyone like, wow, this is kind of a fancy place. And then it was until after they told me that it's like that's where all the ballers go. So it was pretty exciting for me.
So what do you think about the NBA right now? I know some of you are watching. I know TJP's watching.
Man,
TJP's a virtual fan.
I spent this morning doing my first Twitch stream on 2K because I needed to rewrite last night's history getting dropped by the Raptors. And I lost my game in the stream worse than the Lakers lost last night. So I am in a bad mood for basketball right now because I got bounced by like 40 points in this stream. It was terrible, but I don't know. I mean, I like it more than I thought. I thought the bubble was going to be kind of like whack, to be honest, but it turned out the atmosphere is a lot better than I thought it would be. I mean, home arenas are obviously going to be better than this, but like, I mean, the way that they've done it up, it doesn't. I don't get too distracted by them not really being in the normal spots, I think baseball feels more at home though. Like the home stadiums, and I think both leagues do the virtual crowds pretty good, but I feel like MLB actually having guys in their home stadiums and like seeing the backdrops and everything that are familiar just makes it I almost forget that it's like COVID season when I watch baseball, because you kind of just don't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. How do you feel about them piping in all that crowd noise like in the NBA?
Like, I mean, like the
2K.
NBA specifically, or for
like just in general with the sports, like piping in crowd noise.
I think I mean, I think it's fine. I haven't maybe I haven't watched enough to feel like weird about it, but so far it feels mostly natural. The things that are weird is like everybody has a different way of doing a virtual visual crowd. Like some MLB teams have like cutouts. I know NBA has like the digital boards and stuff like that. So every now and then that'll kind of throw me off just because it's not consistent. Everybody kind of does it a little differently, but the crowd, the noise, the atmosphere feels fine. And I guess like you could use apps to like kind of inhibit the noise. Did I have that right?
I don't know much about it. I mean,
they said they were going to use 2K, actually 2K fan noises or chants, because they actually use actual crowd noises for the game, so that's what they're going to use for the games now.
Like, yeah. So I mean, like maybe it was just for MLB, but I think I saw that MLB like through the app or something, you can like kind of like fans can control from home, like kind of contribute to the crowd noise. So it's almost like you're really
that's cool.
Yeah, so like I think there's something like that going on. I might be wrong. I might be totally wrong about that, but I think I heard that for baseball at least, and I did hear about 2K being used for the NBA. I thought it's been good so far. I mean, it must be weird for them not actually have that sort of home court momentum. Like you feel at home, like if it's a 10-0 run and maybe Braun finishes a breakaway dunk and they call timeout and you're like, oh wow, we're on fire. It sounds crazy, but to them it's just like playing in the park and like they're like, oh whatever. So I don't know, but I think it's all right.
I think wrestling must be pretty difficult, right? Like getting used to that at first, not having a crowd in there, because I mean, I'm friends with a good amount of wrestlers, and it seems like you guys really love that energy that the crowd gives you when you guys are performing. And plus, you're able to figure out what you want to do in the ring when you hear the crowd, right?
Yeah, so that's the thing is I think it's a generational thing. Like, for older dudes, like, which is weird to say this, but like myself, like, I'm more of, I guess you could say, like, kind of a classically trained wrestler. So when I was coming up, and this is, the late 90s when I was coming up, that's how I was taught to wrestle. Like, I don't take a lot into the ring with me, and it's kind of like calling the 2-minute offense if you're like Tom Brady, like running a no huddle. Because and in this case, in this analogy, the crowd would be the defense. So I kind of read the defense and I kind of go off of them. And so that's how a lot of older performers are. But newer performers are more scripted in nature, and they have a more steady playbook. So like for a lot of the younger guys, I don't think that they feel any difference. But for the older dudes, I'm like, this is how I used to make my play calls. So some nights it feels like a night off because I could kind of go on autopilot and like, since there's no crowd, I don't know what the fans at home think. So like it's like no harm, no foul, I guess. But usually I'm used to having my finger on the pulse of something, and I don't have that now. So it's weird.
You can't call something on the fly, hearing the crowd going crazy or nothing like
that.
Yeah,
it's a lot of it.
You gotta wing it, and hopefully, hopefully also the camera work is key too. So I think especially now during these times.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. Like, and I actually use this example like with some of my friends. Like, one of my favorite matches I've ever done was with Jeff Hardy in Impact. We had a singles match on Impact. It was a live Impact. It was great. It was the first time being in the ring with Jeff. He's a legend. He's one of my heroes. And I remember it being one of the easiest matches I've ever had, simply because I was constantly getting feedback from the audience. And so it was so easy for me to like call these plays, because I'm like, dude, this guy is so good, it's automatic. Anything I do with him works. Like, yeah. But now if I could have that same match with him right now, and I would be like, I don't know what's working, because nobody's I just have to hopefully keep him safe. Like, that's my best bet, is just make sure we get through it. But yeah, I mean, it plays a big role, man. It does. It plays a huge role.
That's your Manic days, right?
Good, though, man.
Yeah, Manic days.
Impact has been really good, man.
Yeah,
I honestly think it's one of the more it might be the most consistent product and roster right now as far as the show. And when I left WWE, last year, the beginning of last year, and kind of deciding where I wanted to go, like obviously New Japan, I mean, that's always gonna be home to me. They gave me my first start, but like Impact, like I could kind of see on the horizon, like they had built a great roster. They were talented from top to bottom. Everybody on the roster can either main event or open the show. So I love the balance there. Like and we're all like, we're all in the same room, so there's no hierarchy, and I like that too. All those things are very rare. You never see that, in most places. And so I've seen that, like, they've had such consistency, and over the last year, I'm not surprised at all at how well they've started to put it together. Like I was very pleasantly surprised with like kind of getting in at the time I did and watching how they started putting it together. I feel so comfortable there. I love it.
I smell an X Division title coming.
Oh, sorry.
What's up?
Do I smell a next division title match coming?
Maybe. I know that's something that they. I think that's something that they really wanted to kind of position me for, and like that, and like kind of the world title scene and things like that. But I really, personally, I went there selfishly because I wanted to work with Fala and do something more for like my community, like for like Asian Americans and Filipino Americans and stuff like that. I know that they really were like, okay, this is fun, but we'd like you to do some of this stuff too. But so we'll see. I mean, I think I'm at a unique point in my career where I'm not too terribly old, but I'm versatile enough to do a little bit of everything. So hopefully I'll play all the positions they need, and we'll see what comes out of it. But yeah.
Follow Bob is a pisser, man. I met him a bunch of times. Follow Bob is a funny guy.
Oh yeah, dude, he's so great, man. He's definitely
he's a Jersey boy.
He is the heart and soul of our team for sure. For sure, he's the personality.
He is. I've met him and interviewed him a couple of times, and he's just a blast to be around. Funny guy. You guys must have a blast.
Dude, he's great. If like, I don't know, if I'm the hitman, he's my anvil. Like he's so colorful. He's such a great personality. I love him. Like,
yeah.
All right, you had a question, Suzo?
No, I was going to say about the as far as Impact goes, because I kind of fell way out of the loop on them. But after seeing all the talk about Slammiversary going into that, I did watch that, and definitely got me into wanting to see more of them. Because like you were saying, from start to finish, everybody that was on the card was just solid. You know what I mean? Even the people that I hadn't, where I didn't know their names or anything, they were still able to pull you in, which, again, in times like this, when there's no crowd and all that, can be a little hard. Even for the people that I'm already invested in watching their matches, it's just hard to get you on that next level, really wondering what's going to happen next.
No,
did anyone watch Talking Shop?
Yeah, I did. I interviewed Gallows and Anderson. Cheap plug. Check it out at youtube.com/the DELZ Show. I interviewed them before the show went live, and They told me it was gonna be like Hot Shots, the old the old movie Hot Shots.
Yeah.
It's basically but with wrestling, and it was exactly what it was. It
Robin
was
Hood
so
men in
fun.
tights.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous and hilarious. I thought it was. Did you guys see it? Anyone?
I wanted to watch it, but I had a sneaker battle thing going on last night, so I'm gonna have to catch that.
Okay.
Probably
Like I saw
tomorrow.
your IG, DELZ, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna catch that after I'm done grocery shopping, and I still haven't been able to.
Yeah, I mean, I watched it. I definitely thought it was funny. And they name it the worst pay-per-view ever, which is appropriate, but in a good way. You know, it's just complete, just ridiculousness. The whole entire thing, man.
Everything
I think it was like 5 minutes into the show, Gallows tweeted, "This is worse than I thought."
Yeah. I mean, it was so bad, but it was so funny at the same time. Those guys are hilarious, those two. And they had a bunch of guests. I won't say who was there, just so I don't spoil it for anyone else that may want to watch.
Did you see Jericho promoting it?
Yeah, Jericho promoted it. Randy Orton did too. I mean, you know, they're very liked around the industry. From everyone I know in the industry, everyone loves those guys. So
Yeah.
Just like TJP. Everyone loves TJP. They do.
Hey, TJP's a real one, man.
I try to be, I'd like to wear everything on my sleeve, I guess,
Man, you got no more room on those arms anymore, brother.
Yeah, I gotta fill in a little bit here, but I don't got a lot of space. I'm gonna do like Juice Robinson. He's my buddy in New Japan, and because he did calf sleeves, and I might do that next, maybe. Yeah,
it'll look good with the sneakers,
Yeah, it's like having permanent socks,
That's right.
I gotta do a Filipino style knee-high socks.
What was Juice's name in WWE again?
Oh man, it was
CJ Parker.
CJ Parker, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him at Access one weekend. He was in a tag match with Baron Corbin. I was like, man, this guy's pretty all right. And the next week he was gone. I was like, oh, okay, well. But it ended up working out for him because I mean seemed like it was by choice, and he just blew up after that.
Yeah, he's got such great personality to him. He's so great, man. He really lights up a room. It's like, especially like being just in the locker room with him, going on tour with him and stuff. He's like my locker room tag team partner. I love being around this dude. And then we had a show on like one of the USA tours for New Japan, and we finally got to tag in San Jose. And I could not stop laughing the entire match. He's just such a blast to be around.
Yeah, he did seem really cool.
Yeah.
He's just like as a person.
Yeah, no, he's great. He's great, man. He's a blast.
So what you rocking lately, TJP?
Well, let's see. I'm trying to think of what the last few pickups that I got. Let me think. I had gotten. I picked up a pair of the one of the later colorways of the LeBrons. I wish I had a bunch of them in my office here, but I moved them to a closet somewhere. But I've been picking up some retro stuff that was like they did that big Blazer release recently with the sponge tongue and stuff like that. Like the real old school. Like I got the white with black swoosh, just have a nice like plain Jane like vintage pair, and then I picked up one of the pairs of the Air Force One lows that came out, because I had one where like the swoosh was whited out, and then it had like black bottoms. Another one had purple bottoms, I think. And I picked up some of the black and white pairs. I've been picking up more just like first line type stuff, Cortezes, AF1s, Blazers, stuff like that. I actually wanted to go find a pair of Puma Clydes just because I was on this like kick of like 70s like first line
childhood days.
Yeah, all the first line pairs. Like I wanted to go back and scoop them all, but and then I got sent. Yeah, dude, they're great. And I had got sent a pair of the Converse Rocket collab. They're like all black with the white bottoms. They have orange laces to swap. And Foot Locker hooked me up with some of those. So that's like some of the latest stuff I've had is more like retro looking stuff.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, yeah. No. I want to say the last pair of Jordans I picked up was probably like the first Animal Pack, that not the last one, but the one before that had like
the threes,
it had more like had like actual fur on it, or like, you know, like had more of the fur texture.
Yeah, like the zebra, I think, on the swoosh or something like that.
Yeah, zebra and like
Leopard.
zebra. It definitely had the zebra, and because I know the last one had more like reptile print or like on it, and the one before that was like zebra and like, I don't know, cheetah maybe or something like that.
Yeah, it was cheetah.
Yeah, it had all the cats on it.
Yeah, and then it had like
leopard,
Black Panther like
tiger,
fur on it as well.
Yeah, all that shit.
That might have been the last pair of Jordans that I picked up that I can remember, because everything else has been more like retro, like casual stuff, like skater shoes and stuff like that. You know, like the Blazers and Converse.
Blazers are popping like crazy. People wearing a lot of Blazers and Dunks lately. It's like crazy.
So there's a pair of Dunk Lows coming up next year, because a bunch of Dunk releases towards the end of this year and the start of next year are coming out, and I wanted to get a pair of the plain black and white ones that are supposed to come out next year. I don't know when, but I wanted to pick up a pair of Dunks too because of that. Like, I just all the retro kicks, man. I've been on them now.
Yeah. Have you seen the Chicago colorway SB lows?
Yeah. I was thinking about getting the white and baby blue Dunks too that just came out, because those were, usually I wouldn't go for something like that, but I like how those look. DELZ, I feel like you would like those. Those are Carolina colors, man.
Yeah. I'm a New York guy though. I've just been in Carolina for like 3-4 years, so
I've been here my whole fucking life.
Yeah. It's too expensive to live in New York, so I said, let me move. I was spending like $1,000 for it was an okay apartment, and I was like, man, I could buy a big ass house, so I come to North Carolina. I'm getting out of here, man. You know.
Hey, but what was y'all rocking today though? That was Alias had that question.
Let's see. I think
I'm inside right now, so I got slides on. I got these
I
think he was asking today in general.
I'm actually just wearing some slides right now. But
yeah.
Yeah, my shit's downstairs. Well, fuck it, I'll go get them just for the sake of conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Shoes by the door.
The ones that I had on though today, which are kind of like a pair of beaters, they're not around me right now, but they're Air Max.
Oh, there you go.
I think they're the Air Max 95 90s. They're like yellow and black. They had like a little cassette tape on the inside. I was rocking some Air Maxes earlier.
Air Maxes are one of my go-tos for sure.
Yeah, Air Maxes, man. You can't go wrong with those.
I mean, of course, slides. Like the only place I've really gone today was just the gas station across the street, and I had some slides on then. But yeah, oftentimes when I'm just running out for something, Air Maxes, maybe Ultra Boost. Easy to play.
Griffey's, nice.
Very nice.
2010.
I got one pair of Griffey's in my closet. It's the black and infrared. Yeah, I got the black infrared Safari Griffey's. Those are the only ones I got right now.
I'm waiting on the fresh waters to come back around. I need those. I need another pair of these. It's gonna be tough, man.
Yeah, things are not getting easier to pick up, that's for sure. I mean, even stuff that would have been easy, like maybe last year or whatever, you got to put some work in sometime.
No, it's I think a lot of people are just so frustrated being home, not being able to go out. They just, strapping that money on every sneaker release, because every sneaker's selling out like this now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not
make this guy's life miserable.
I couldn't imagine being single right now. I would be like, wow.
I mean, and there have been a fair amount of restocks as well, too, for people that do miss out on that first wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty about being in, like, because I'm in Vegas. Like, the beauty about being out here is a lot of the places, like, they usually get a good stock of like new releases because they're like really trendy like malls and stuff, but a lot of the people coming through are not shopping to bring with them because they're traveling. So like a lot of times stuff here will sit on shelves longer than they would anywhere else, like LA or New York or something like that. So sometimes I'll just be able to go down to the strip and I know people aren't packing with enough space to pick up sneakers. So like, if I go to like a mall that's on the strip, I can usually pick up new releases.
That was me in 26. I think it was. I had to go out there for work, and I think 2016. And most of my luggage when I came back was just full of shoes. Because, like you said, when I went out there, I didn't take much with me because I thought I'll probably buy something while I'm out there. I didn't realize how much. But yeah, walking through whatever those malls were, all lined up.
Yeah,
you saw something everywhere.
Yeah, yeah, between Fashion Show Mall, Planet Hollywood's mall. They got the Nike store and Caesars, like all these places that are on the strip. The only people that go there are like travelers, so they'll look at stuff, but shoes are too bulky for them to be trying to pack. So when they're on vacation, they're not trying to buy shoes. So like I swoop in and try to pick stuff up at those places.
Yeah, you definitely got to take advantage of that if you can.
Yeah. There's a lot of good consignment shops here too, like Undisputed and different places like that. So.
Okay. So
what's your hypest sneaker?
You buy a lot online too, or is it just mostly in store?
I mean, I'll try to get stuff online whenever I can. Usually, I end up going through GOAT to do it. You know, I obviously I got like Sneakers app, but I've only ever scored on Sneakers app like once ever, like twice maybe. That's always tough, but yeah, I'll click around on GOAT if it's something that's kind of been out for a little while, and I feel like I can find some like leftover stock on there, and especially like maybe like a year or two ago, like some of the retros were being like overstocked almost. Like it was really easy for me to find Black Cement 3s when they put those out because there was like more than people were trying to get. Concords were easy to find on there. It wasn't too bad at the time. Now they're marked up a lot, but at the time it was all right.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll find stuff on there, but yeah.
Yeah, I've noticed that same thing too. Because I remember getting those Black Cement 3s. I got a pair for me and a pair for my dad, and it was like, okay, seemed pretty easy. And the people that I knew, they seemed to walk away with theirs as well. So, you know, it is what it is.
When I saw the Black Cement 3s coming up on the release list, I was like, dude, this is because I mean that's like a pretty universal holy grail for a lot of people. So, and they were doing like the 88 version with like the Nike logo on the back, and I was like, oh, these are gonna be hard to find if you don't get them on drop day. And I was able to find that on GOAT and other places so easy for a while. I thought the Concords are going to be that way too from a couple of years back, but it seemed like, I don't know, for whatever reason, a couple of years ago, retros were easy to get for a little bit. And so I was able to get those, but now I feel like it might be a little bit harder. So I'm worried about those.
You're selling out so quick now, man. It's like within like minutes online.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen it like this in a long time.
Yeah, that's like some 2010, 2012 shit, bro. It's off the wall.
Like,
for anything that drop will go. That shit is back full force. Like shit, I gotta try.
I got like 400 pairs of shoes. I don't need no more. So
we know that. We know.
I need to get rid of these damn shoes, you know?
I don't really need more pairs. We just want more.
Hey, I want to hear some funny shit, man.
Go ahead.
DJ DELZ was the first shoe tuber that I ever saw, ever in life, yo. That shit's crazy. I was like, damn.
Hey, same. Actually, it was funny because the first time I interacted with him, he was calling me out for having fake sixes. But it turned out they were actually.
No, I didn't do that. That's not true. I didn't call you out for them.
What were they? The Flight Club 91s? Because they look like they have the same. Yeah,
they have the same. I didn't call you out. I said those are dope. I didn't call you like I confused with someone else. But we became cool when I was hit because I noticed he was always wrestling in Jordans, so I'd hit him up. You know that. Because, you know, I didn't follow New Japan. You know, I was watching, you know, just American wrestling.
Yeah.
And and that's how I got put on too. Because I've always watched Impact Wrestling. I've always.
I actually still, I think, because I'm in my office, I got my like little gear closet right here. I think I got a couple pairs from when we were first talking of stuff that I was wearing at the time. because I got.
Yeah, but we were interacting on Twitter. Then we became cool from then on.
Yeah, because I had, I think, like, when I first switched to the new Manic costume when it wasn't Suicide anymore, like, I had these ones, the blue on blue threes, and then, because it matched my blue outfit, and then, in fact, that's why I colored the outfit blue, because I had these, and I was like, I want to wrestle in these, so they're like, what do you want to do for the suit? And I was like, scrap all that red and blue shit, we're going to go blue and gold, and, you know, and then I had the Gumba Leagues, the Kobe's. So those are two of the ones that I remember.
But when I first seen
really
you wrestling, you were wearing the I remember they were white and red. Red Jordans. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was in your neck of the woods when I retired those shoes because I was it was my last night as the old Suicide costume before it changed to the blue one. And I remember after the match was over, when we were off air, I took the Jordans off and I signed them and gave them away to kids in the crowd. We were in Manhattan, so we're at Manhattan Center. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny though, because since I wasn't like on the mic or nothing, people were like, "Oh, is he retiring?" Like that's what wrestlers do. They leave their boots behind when they retire. And I was like, no. I'm just like, you know, I'm done with the red outfit, so I don't need these anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. And then after that, you start switching up a little more often. I know your style started really, you know, getting like you were going with it, bringing a lot of heat, man.
One of the best posts I think that you did was when I sent you pictures of me rocking the Grinches. I sent a couple of those, and I remember that kind of blew up. And I remember I wore them again on Monday Night Raw for a show just for the Christmas Raw that we did like in 2016. Me and Neville, me and Pac had a singles match on Raw, and I was like, it's Christmas, I'm gonna wear the Grinches because it's perfect. So
yeah, because that's when you wore the 32s a lot, huh? The Air Jordan 32s.
Yeah, actually, I got them in this case right here because this is my like for the whole CWC outfit is in there with the title that they sent me after. And yeah, in fact, if I still had those red Jordans, I would have put them in here. But I don't got them.
Yeah, that's a sick case, bro.
Yeah, these are the
hell yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I remember. It's funny because I was wearing. What was I wearing? I think I was wearing one of the Kobe 9s. The ones that kind of look like the Back to the Future shoes. They kind of look like the Marty McFly's. Yeah. Because my outfit was like like turquoise and gold. It was kind of like Jaguars colors the first couple rounds of the CWC, and then. So I wore those Kobe's, and then I wore I can't remember what they were called. The ones that they were also Kobe 9s, the super highs. They were the white with infrared and gold, like rose gold or something like that. So then when I got to the finals and I had the special Philippines outfit made, and I was like, well, I don't got shoes to match these ones. So I literally went to the mall that day, and I was like, I got to go get the Jordan 32 Olympics to match because I got all red, white, and blue. So that's how I ended up wearing these ones. Which ironically, because like a lot of people were like, and it became super polarizing, like me like dabbing and all that. But literally the only reason I did it was the same reason why I picked these shoes is because like one of my favorite player is Russell Westbrook. So at the time he was like going viral for all of his pregame dances. So I didn't even know what a dab was. I just knew that he did that in a pregame dance. I didn't know what it was called or nothing. And so I was doing basically just Westbrook pregame dances in my entrances. And I remember like Hunter and everybody was like, "Oh, that's so unique. That's different." I'm like, I'm just copying Russell Westbrook. But and I remember I was like, I got to pick out a pair of shoes to match this outfit. And I remember going there and it was just like you know, like a perfect storm because I was like, yeah, I'm gonna wear Westbrook shoes because you know he's a Jordan guy and they were the perfect color. So I was like, I'm gonna just do it.
So what you're saying is you're a Rockets fan right now.
You know, it's funny because I'm a big James Harden guy because he's also an LA boy. And so is Westbrook. So like I've always been fans of them. And so when they kind of reunited in Houston, I mean, it's hard because I have to like kind of hate the Rockets because I'm a Laker fan, you know.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah.
my favorite Laker teams too were the mid '90s Lakers, like Van Exel, Eddie Jones, like that era, Ceballos. And back at that time, the Rockets were the ones bouncing us out of the playoffs. So I've always been like, man, I hate the Rockets, but two of my favorite players are playing there right now. So like I find myself watching a lot of Rockets games.
Yeah, they're playing right now.
Yeah.
They're playing against the
Yeah.
Bucks right now. I
Yeah,
was just watching.
They scored
check the
120 points again.
No defense being played.
Yeah, it's NBA Jam.
Hey TJP, what's your hypest sneaker in your collection?
My favorite sneaker ever is well, I got two that I would pick for that answer, I guess. My favorite sneaker ever was the white cement 4s. When I got that was like the best day of my life. Like, in fact, I probably overwear them, like, because I believe in rocking over stocking, so I'll wear them all the time. But like sometimes I'm like, man, I gotta like preserve them a little bit because these are my favorites ever. So there's that for personal reasons, and then also for personal reasons, I guess. Like this is probably my favorite pickup I've ever got at Flight Club was the Kobe 3 Miseries from that special pack that he did before he was retiring. And it was always so hard to find that waffle print shoe for, you know, the Kobe 3s. Like I wish they would retro those. That was like my favorite Kobe shoe ever, especially the white and yellow Homes. But I got a pair of those in Minneapolis colors, and I got a pair they were called the Miseries, and they're all black with like this like rainbow like tint inside of it. And those and the 4s are my favorite like ever that I've got.
All right, another question: when you were in WWE, who had the most sneakers in the locker room?
Yeah, I'm guessing Kofi or Enzo.
Yeah, I'm thinking Enzo.
Enzo was up there, but see, like Enzo was like a revolving door for shoes because he was getting new shoes every single week, but I don't think he was always keeping them. So he would get them, use them, and then they would be giveaways or auction. I don't think he saved all of them. He would only save like the ones that were really, really good.
I remember him saying he gave a lot to his brother or something like that.
Yeah. So
he debuted in the 72-10s.
Yeah, so I don't know like if he ended up ever having a big collection at any one time, but he was always getting fresh drops every week because the same guys that would seed me from like Foot Locker were seeding to him too. So he would always get like cool like stuff sent to him early and like different promotional stuff. Kofi's definitely up there, but I'm trying to think if there's somebody that for sure would have more. I mean, Kofi probably might be the largest collection. And to be honest, it might actually be somebody from the women's division because like
Liv Morgan, I know she has
Liv had a big collection.
Carmella.
Carmella's got a huge collection too. So it might be one of them. I'm not sure. I mean, I was kind of up there. I'm been sitting on like between 200 and 300 right now, and I have had about that much since then. But yeah, the short list would probably be those guys, maybe Kofi, like those guys would probably be up there.
Yeah,
anybody in Impact?
Yeah, actually, I mean he's gone from Impact now, but until recently, Elgin was competing with me over drops. He had new Jordans every single week I'd see him. He was pretty big on it. Let's see. Some of the OBE guys did. I think Dave Christ also would have a lot of pickups because I remember him pointing out the Animal Instinct 3s. And that's how I found out he was a big shoe guy at the time. And I would see him with other stuff too. Like he had like Kobe 9s and some other retros and stuff. trying to think who else.
Were there a lot of people that like you didn't really expect to be into that stuff until maybe they saw you wearing the right pair of shoes and it just sparked the conversation?
There were some that in retrospect, it'd be obvious, but it didn't happen until we ended up comparing stuff in person. Like Trey Miguel, for example, he's a low key like shoe guy, and I didn't really realize it until he had like the Jordan 1 denims from recently, and I was like, oh, those are sick. And then he was every week we would have different ones. Like I remember one time we both wore different pairs of 5s, so we made like some story posts about it and stuff. So he's another guy that's like that. I mean, in retrospect, I kind of expect, because he's very like fashion forward. So like it seems obvious that he would be, but yeah, he's another shoe guy from there. Willie Mack is kind of a low key one, but he only goes after Converse for whatever reason. He loves Converse. Like he's got this huge Converse collection right now, and like crazy ones. He has like. He finds like these obscure ones. Like he's got like Converse with a little fanny pack attached to it, and Converse with like different style like buckles on it and stuff. Like
that's that West Coast wave, Willie Mack thing.
Yeah. He also picked up those Converse Rocket collabs. Like he's big on Converses. Eddie Edwards kind of has some too.
Eddie Edwards and his girl too. I think. Eli Drake is pretty into sneakers too. I was shocked about that.
Yes,
I ended up interviewing him, and he was wearing the same Jordans as me. I was like, "Oh shit, you into sneakers?" And
he might have had the biggest collection of 11s that I've ever seen. Because he any colorway in 11 he'll pick up. Anyway,
yeah, he loves 11s.
A lot of people do.
Me included.
Popular, yeah.
I've seen DJ DELZ, a couple of his interviews with a couple of, superstars and whatnot. I'm like, man, some people don't know about them sneakers. I know he interviewed Tessa Blanchard, and I'm like, yeah, I don't think she knows what you're talking about, man.
So I actually have a funny story of the last SummerSlam that I did when we were in Brooklyn for SummerSlam week, and like Foot Locker was like their big flagship store there in Manhattan, and so I would go down. Whenever we would do Raw or anything in Brooklyn, I would always go into the city and just hang out at the office, meet them, and just do some stuff, pick up some random stuff that they set aside for me. And since it was SummerSlam, they had a line of like shirts and apparel and stuff they were doing to promote. That was a WWE collab, so they had like NWO shirts with NYC written instead, and like stuff that was designed after the subway signs for Ultimate Warrior, things like that. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I have this shirt that's Andre the Giant with the Biggie Smalls crown.
Yeah,
it's the same thing.
I have that.
So all that line came out around that time, and I went down to the flagship store to help promote it and cut some promos for it and like pick up some stuff. And I went with Kalisto, and we both went together. We were doing these promos for him, and then they're like, "Hey, go pick out some stuff if you see anything around on the store, and we'll set it aside for you." And so like I remember I grabbed some like Kobe Protros or something like that. Like, and I remember Kalisto was asking them just the funniest questions, and I was like, "Dude, like you're just basically advertising that you're not a shoe guy at all by asking these questions." Like he asked him, he's like, "Do you have any like Yeezys?" Like as if they would just stock that on the wall in a Foot Locker. Like, so he would be pulling up pictures of shoes and be like, "Do you have this?" And I'm like, "Dude, bro, that's 15 years old. No, they don't have that." And so it's funny because he's a guy that I would have thought that he'd be like kind of on the like forefront of it, because he's also pretty fashionable, and he's very into like pop culture stuff, but he had no idea what he was doing.
I know Rey Mysterio and his son, they both got some good collection of Yeezys.
I've noticed that lately. Yeah. They're wearing a lot of heat lately.
I see
before I had left the company, I would see Dominic all the time backstage. Before he was being featured on the show, he was always traveling, and I would see him all the time. He always had a brand new pair of heat on. Always.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, you're gonna say something, Shiza?
Oh no, I was saying like what about the Yeezys? Like on BTE, I see Kenny Omega in Yeezys like all the time. You know, it's like so it's crazy because he had like a clip of him in his home or something with his DDR machine and this huge stack of Yeezys. I'm like, really? That was the first time I realized that he really had those.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like the only shoe that he likes, but I think I've only seen him wearing those and like the Vapor Maxes. So
well, I mean, a lot of the New Japan guys, especially the younger guys, like they all wear heat all the time. We'll do tours and I'll be getting on the bus with like Ibushi, and he'll have like some like NMDs, some like Concords, and then some Yeezys. Like he'll have like 3-4 different pairs of heat like going, and like all classic stuff. And yeah, like Sonata, a lot of the guys, like even like
I know the Bucks too.
Yeah, Bucks especially. I remember even back in the day, like 10, 12 years ago, Gato would always have different Jordan 1s. He's a big Jordan 1s guy.
I've heard about that too.
Yeah. He's pretty big. So yeah, a lot of the guys over there have heat. So I would imagine, like, just by virtue of the atmosphere, that's probably, if nothing else, that's how Kenny probably got kind of hooked on some good stuff, is just from seeing all the guys what they have, because they always have sick stuff.
Yeah,
fashion in general in Japan is just huge, you know, like.
Well, their attention to detail for pop culture is amazing, and the way that they can popularize certain things is just incredible.
It's huge, and they set off a lot of trends too at the same time. So.
Yeah, a lot of things can be popularized just through like their fashion alone, you know.
No, that's 100%. Let me show you some sneakers. I brought you guys a few treats to show you. Some eye candy right here.
Oh.
These are the bands.
Oh, okay. Relax, man.
Little eye candy.
Damn, that's dope.
Flex begins.
I got one more. Got one more for you. Little eye candy. We talking wrestling and sneakers. I'll bring some sneakers.
Oh man, that's dope.
Eminem Jordan 2.
Where's Coffee with the Foe? He'll love what he's seeing right now.
Yeah, he probably passed out. Somebody gonna have to go wake that man up. He's down.
Just show some stuff, you know. I didn't know what to expect in here tonight, so I was like, let me bring a couple of pairs of shoes.
That reminds me, like, because it's funny, like, a lot of people ask, like, what my favorite, especially, like, what Jordan specifically are, and, like, the 2s are really such a low-key favorite of mine. I love a good pair of 2s, like, the original colorway, and then the only pair that I have right now are the, God, they were all black and white, and the ones that say "Wing It" on the back. Yeah, the Wing It.
Wing It in the back. It said, yeah.
Yeah.
I have those.
Those are great. And those are great for like formal shoes too. Like if I'm rocking a suit or a tux or something like that, because they're perfect. They're all black and white. I also have a pair of. I don't know, like if you remember when they did like they had a Jordan 1 and 2 like kind of fused together, and it was like the old 2 colorway. So they had the white. Yeah, they had the white swoosh blended in to make it look like there was no swoosh there, and then it had the exact same build of the 2 on the back with the ribbed like ankle Achilles portion and all that, and the old Nike block logo on it. I love those, but 2s are another pair that like they don't get a lot of play and they don't get a lot of re-releases or anything like that. But I love the way the 2s look.
Yeah, I like the mellow colorway, the white one with the blue and the yellow.
Yeah.
Those are tough too. I like those.
Yeah, it's like what Allen Iverson said when he went to the Nuggets, and he was like, "I'll be honest, I always felt like I had the sickest colors in the league," and I was like, "Dude, you're so right. I love their colors." And
yeah, so that color combination's a win-win.
That baby blue and like that goldish yellow, it's just it pops so well. And when they mix in like the baby blue and the navy blue and the gold, it like some combos, it looks so good.
That's right. Clean look.
All right, TJP, being a former cruiserweight champion, we all know the controversy behind Enzo Amore. What was it, a year, 2 years ago?
Right,
All right,
right.
I'm following a Curbside Hero, and he had posted some news from PW Insider saying that Enzo is now accepting independent bookings and might even defend the old cruiserweight championship that he never lost.
He's
Any
going
opinion
Shawn.
on that?
He's going Shawn Michaels on everybody.
That's great.
I had actually run into Enzo a few times at some other independent shows last year over the summer. I had a pretty full touring schedule last year, so I ran into him a couple times at different places where he had signings or like, you know, some in-ring stuff, but I don't think he had very many matches, if any at all. But like, I don't know. I've always thought that he's an interesting asset to have. Like, he's so multi-talented. He has a lot to offer, and I feel like he's very underutilized in that way. And I mean, I don't know any of the personal stuff aside, like with all that, but just knowing that, you know, he came out of it on the other end, like, and you know, he's able to do his thing. Like, I hope that he like is able to fill up his calendar, because like he's such a talented dude, and you know, he's such a lightning rod. And that's the thing, is like when you can be so polarizing like that and draw people in for a multitude of reasons, like especially in entertainment, like that offers so much opportunity. And I think he's really smart and he's very talented with what he does with his tools. So you know, I'd look forward to seeing him sometime at a show if it comes up. I mean, schedules right now are not exactly full because of COVID, so it's a little tough. But I mean, that's cool to see him. I like the angle he's taken on it, like the old Shawn Michaels. I didn't really lose this thing.
That could be fun once things get back to normal. If he takes it, you know, in the indies shows and whatnot. He was on that pay-per-view last night, actually, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a funny dude, and he's very talented, and you know, I've always enjoyed being around him in the locker room and stuff like that. He's very smart. He's a lot smarter than people understand. Like he's really got a good mind for the process of all this. So I look forward to whatever he does next.
Have you heard anything from Cass? You know, he had that little fallout as well.
No, I reached out when I heard that, you know, when he was first, I think like had collapsed, or he had like a seizure or some health issue like that. And, I know that he's like taking some time off to kind of recharge like himself, like, you know, in a lot of ways, physically, mentally, spiritually, a lot of those things, which, you know, for a lot of guys, they get burnt out, you know, especially when a guy like him, his introduction is at like that level. And so you hit the ground running so fast, whereas somebody like me has built it up over time. Like, you know, so I go to the company, like, you know, if WWE's the Yankees or the Lakers, for example, like I had already kind of like built up a callus for that sort of like pressure and schedule, like for 2 decades before I got there. A guy like Cass just gets thrown right into the fire. That's a tough thing to do. So sometimes on the back end, they try to keep it going, especially when they're then in charge of their own schedule, you know, moving on to a new chapter, and it just gets overwhelming. And sometimes they don't realize that they're burnt out until, you know, they hit a certain point. So I just know that he's resting up and he's trying to just kind of get his bearings back. So hopefully he does. I mean, he's always been a total sweetheart as far as I've seen, and like he's such a great guy. So, you know, I hope that everything works out for him.
Hey, I have a question for you with that WWE schedule, because I've heard from a lot of talent over there. It's a pretty crazy schedule, huh? As far as traveling every week to week? Or?
It can be. I mean, when I was at my busiest, I mean, it'd be like 4 days on, 3 days off, but one of those days I'm on a plane. So like it was a lot. Like I would leave on a Friday, for example, Friday morning, hit a show that night somewhere, a live event. As soon as the show's over, I'd be driving to the next city for an event Saturday, and then again on Sunday, and then drive again overnight on Sunday, to Raw on Monday, and then for those of us like the Cruiserweights, for example, we had to do Raw and SmackDown. So then I would go to SmackDown the next day. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I'm working. Wednesday morning, I fly home, and then I'm home Thursday, and then fly again on Friday. So that's how it was at my busiest. And then even when it wasn't that busy, I would fly out on a Sunday to make TV on Monday and Tuesday, fly home on Wednesday, and I'd only be home, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then I'd fly on Sunday again.
So that schedule could really burn people out, man, for real.
Oh yeah, especially when you 3 to 5 years straight of that, like it hits you out of nowhere. Yeah, for sure.
Do you have any
AEW is once a week? They work twice a week. AEW.
And they're really so like a lot of my friends that work there. They've been very complimentary of like the company's ability to kind of have better foresight of whether you're needed for the show, so they don't make you travel if you're not needed. So
that's fantastic. There's no reason for it.
Yeah, so they end up saving so much mental and physical energy because of that, which is great. That's pretty rare. Like when they can have that much control over their roster scheduling to not over travel guys.
Do you think that wrestlers should have like the way they have storylines? Do you think sometimes people should have like an off season with some of the schedule, just so some wrestlers could kind of rejuvenate themselves and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of guys that have spoke on that and like maybe wondered if it'd be good to adopt some of the like more foreign like scheduling processes. Like for example, Mexico's like a 7-day-a-week schedule, but they work similar to Japan where it's mostly off of tag team matches. So you don't do a lot of singles matches. So a lot of the more taxing matches, you don't have a lot of those. So if a guy like Seth Rollins or Randy Orton, they're going to have a singles match, 50 out of 52 weeks of TV. So most weeks on Raw, they're going to have a singles match. And each of the live events, it's 50-50 whether or not they'll have a singles match on those too. That's a lot of matches to be having, like just one-on-one 10 minutes or more. Whereas, say, like in New Japan, for example, like I'll take like a top guy like, say, Kenny Omega for a while in New Japan. It's almost a blessing in disguise that allows him to, I think, perform at a certain level because, some of the great matches that he has, what helps make them so great is that there's so few of them. Like, because he'll tour and then be off for like a month and then tour and then maybe be off for a month, and all tour long it's mostly 6-man tags, 8-man tags, and you just get a taste of certain one-on-one matchups. And then maybe 2-3 times a year he has those big singles matchups with those guys at bigger shows like a Tokyo Dome or Dontaku or something like that, like Osaka shows or something like that. And so it really helps your body kind of like maintain itself over the course of a year. So there are a lot of guys that have wondered if maybe it'd be better if we adopted more of a foreign touring schedule where guys can kind of like work for, say, 2 weeks and then be off for 2 weeks or something like that, be on for 2 weeks, off for a week, things like that. But, with episodic TV, how it is here, the programming is just so different that it's difficult to sort of integrate that sort of thing. So, we sort of kind of make our own off seasons on the fly. Guys are pretty good about trying to ask for vacation time when they really need it or their family needs it. And then the office tries to, see if okay, we've been running this guy a little too hard or something like that. And they'll, give you some time off or whatever. And they're pretty good about giving you a liberal amount of time off too when you get hurt. Like I remember I hurt my knee and they gave me 2 months off. And I was like, guys, I'm fine. Like a week later, I was like, I'm fine, guys. But they're like, no, rest. We don't want you to get hurt or we don't want you to continue. I'm like, guys, I'm not hurt. I'm fine. But they're just they're so careful about it that they would rather you, have more than you need and then get you back in full time. So,
yeah.
Yeah, something shoes up.
What was I gonna say? Oh, like when you were on that kind of schedule going all around the country, all around different countries, were there any of your favorite venues that you would wrestle in or favorite cities you like to go to?
Well, I mean, my hometown is always going to be a favorite of mine. Staples Center is always really going to be my favorite venue. like to be there, like, you know, the house that Kobe built, so to speak, and just to open or close a show there is awesome. Anaheim Pond was cool too, also like in my hometown, mostly because when I was first starting out, I remember doing these like dirt shit shows like in Anaheim at like marketplaces and swap meets and stuff. And we would drive past the Anaheim Ponds, like me and a friend of mine who were just starting out at the same time. He's no longer in wrestling, but we'd be driving past it. Now we would always tell each other like someday we'll close the show there. And I remember one time after SmackDown, I closed the night there with a 205 match. And my buddy was in attendance, and like that was a special moment just to be in those venues, because I grew up going to these places to watch Laker games and watch hockey games and stuff like that. Other parts around the country, like I really love Barclays Center. The fans there are wonderful, and the way that we get bussed in and out of the player entrance, like it's really easy for me to take the time and walk around and meet people. So I'll sit out there for like an hour just talking to people, taking pictures, and just meeting people, hearing their stories. New York has always had a pretty good like connection with me. Like whether I was a bad guy or a good guy, they always kind of treated me like sort of like an OG for them, you know? Like they always kind of treat me like I'm at home, even though I'm a West Coast boy. So I've always really liked Barclays Center for that reason. Seattle had some popping crowds. We only did those a few times, but that old arena there was always pretty hot. I liked Houston. Houston had a great place as well. Yeah, those are a few of my favorite places for sure.
Yeah, sounds like some good places to pass through for sure. I've seen a couple shows in a couple places, but obviously like nowhere near that many.
The Texas arenas are usually pretty polite to me. I think maybe they think I'm Mexican. I don't know. So like,
I think
a lot of Lucha Libre fans or whatever.
I was guilty for a little bit.
I might have seen you. I might have seen you at a show in Texas. I don't remember, because whenever I go to WrestleMania, because I went from 15 up until last year. I was supposed to go this year, but see how that played out. But I would go to the independent shows and all that. And sometimes I have to go back and look at the pictures later. And it's like, is that Johnny Gargano? It's like,
right,
and I realized later how many people I saw, because when I saw them there, it was like my first time. So you're just getting this wave of people thrown at you.
And you forget, like guys from before. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like Houston was always a good one. El Paso was a great place for me. Corpus Christi, like a lot of the Texas towns were always had a good connection for me. Phoenix as well, which I think like regionally speaking is very similar. So, you know, I always enjoyed those a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, that travel schedule though, that just seems crazy. Like
you get burnt out pretty easy on that.
And like you were saying, with you having been around a lot before getting into that, so you kind of have an idea of how to maybe kind of hold yourself together. Like we made a comparison with Big Cass, like goes into NXT, he's there for, it didn't seem like very long compared to other people that have moved on to the main rosters. And then bam, you're just out there in front of everybody doing your Raws on Monday and however many house shows the rest of the week.
I mean, it's like I think the biggest shock too is that you kind of get like this false sense of comfort, because when you're in the system there, there might be a high volume of training and a high volume of shows. Like an NXT guy might have 3 shows a week, like doing they call it the coconut loop, all in Florida, you know, and they'll do some traveling shows, but for the most part, I mean, these guys 7 days a week, they're putting in a lot of work, but they're going back to their bed every night. Yeah. So you kind of build up this callus of work and you're busy, but you don't really realize how much just simply getting on a plane and getting in a rental car, checking into a hotel, getting to a arena that's not familiar to you, and like getting settled in, going in front of a much larger audience, hitting the road for like 5 hours to the next city. Like that stuff creeps up on you, and you kind of get this false sense of security for those guys. Like they think like, oh, I'm used to the workload, but it's like, dude, you don't realize like you're in your own bed every night. It's not the same thing when you really hit the road. And so for guys like him, I think that's a big shock to their system because they're just not used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's even more frustrating? I could imagine for some that aren't even being used, and they're traveling like crazy, right? Because even if people aren't used, most of the time WWE still has to travel, right?
Yeah. That's what I was going back to what I was saying about AEW, which is great. Like they'll know, like, okay, we have you scheduled for certain matches and certain interviews, and these ones you don't, so you don't have to travel on these days, you know. But WWE, man, like, I mean, even times when I was injured and I knew I wasn't cleared to wrestle, they would still travel me sometimes, you know, in case there was a promo or something to do.
Yeah.
Or if they just wanted to take a look at me and try to clear me before the show or something like that, they might have you travel anyway. Like that's just you're traveling all the time, whether you're on or off. So that was like one of the things that was funny. Like when people assume that like my tattoos, they assume my tattoos got me in trouble towards the last year because they're like, well, we don't see him on TV all the time, so he must have showed up with all these tattoos. But it's like, no, you didn't see me on TV, but I was there every week. So they saw me every week with this, and it was no problem. But that's how much you end up traveling, even if you're not visible. Like you travel a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Would you go back if they reached out to you?
I mean, maybe it kind of depends. I really like what I got going with Impact and New Japan. I think I would love to iron out a long-term thing with Impact, especially like with how I feel like their company's sort of in an upswing right now, and it's a great place to be. I play kind of a more important position for them. WWE and we've stayed in contact here and there, so it's always kind of like we'll check back in a little bit sort of thing. But so I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to going back, but for me now, like not being 25 years old anymore, like the right situation for me almost doesn't revolve around the logo. I just kind of want to find a team that I feel like I suit their needs and they suit mine, you know. And financially, if it works out, then that's really primarily what I think about. I mean, you know, I guess like any free agent in any sport, like you'll take the max contract wherever it's coming from. So at a certain point, you know, so for me, it's like if I'm going to be a franchise player anywhere, then that doesn't really matter to me what uniform I'm wearing. So, but I mean, if it was WWE, then great. So be it. I wouldn't mind at all being back there, you know.
Has AEW ever reached out to you?
We've talked a little bit, but I mean, they have a more set idea of what they wanted to do coming out of the gate. So like, I mean, they were pretty much knew what their first 2 years were going to look like before they even started. So that's been one of those things where like we wouldn't talk that seriously. It was mostly like me just seeing like where they'll be in the future. You know, Impact, for example, had an idea of what they wanted more like right away. It was almost like being a free agent signed to like a lottery team. Like they knew exactly what they needed. They knew exactly where they were headed. So I was one of the pieces that they were using to kind of rebuild, which has been great for me. New Japan is like the Spurs, I guess you could say. They're a perennial, like strong, like built roster and team. So I love always being able to go there whenever they can have me. And, you know, but I talked a little bit to everybody, but, you know, I went with New Japan and Impact just because it felt like their needs were more immediate and they had a better idea of what they wanted immediately. And financially, they made me a great offer. So.
Looks like it's going to work out too, because just with their trajectory and all that, they seem to have a really good thing going. Yeah,
absolutely. I think so too. You know, so you know, to be an important building block in that is great. You know, like I'd rather be the starting shooting guard, like as you know, a franchise player for a team than being like a Lou Williams 6-man somewhere. Like knowing what I'm contributing and being able to be part of that for me is more fulfilling.
And you seem like you still have a fair amount of control or input over how you're used over there, right?
Yeah. That's like a primary thing is like maintaining like a bit of freedom and creative independence, like wherever I would go. And that, you know, the two places, you know, Impact and New Japan offer a lot. I mean, they trust my judgment on a lot of stuff. So the amount of mutual respect, like, definitely played a role in where I wanted to go. So.
Well, that's good though, especially having choices right now. Because a while ago, it seemed like there was only one, which I mean, not necessarily bad,
but out of nowhere, then there's like 5. You know, because then you got like, you have your WWE and New Japan and Impact, but you know, Ring of Honor is still like, they have a strong roster as well. AEW came out of nowhere, became a major player. MLW is still popping. They've had a rejuvenation from like the early 2000s when they first came in. AAA has gotten pretty strong down in Mexico. CMLL is a timeless product, you know.
Seems like Gallows and Anderson, like from what I heard, like they're working with New Japan and with Impact, and I guess bridging the two in some kind of ways.
Yeah. Between them and myself as well, like that's also makes it really good, because it's all, you know, we kind of got like a Deion Sanders thing going. Like it's like having the Braves and the Falcons working together, trying to make sure that we get enough playing time everywhere we go.
Okay.
Yeah, I know those guys are excited to go back to Japan too. They've been looking forward to that. When I spoke,
those guys are kings over there, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I was talking about eating all types of sushi out there. They would tell me how fresh it was over there. They're like, "You would love it, DELZ." They were telling me about all these things out there to eat. I was like, "Oh my god."
Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
Don't let them add juice to the twist.
Say it again.
I said, hey, DELZ, don't let them add shoes to the mix either. All right, DELZ, this comment's for you right here in the chat. Let me post it up on the screen.
Hold on 1 second, guys. Go ahead and do your thing. I just gotta grab
DJ DELZ is the all-time greatest shoe tube ever on YouTube, hands down.
Thank you, man.
Collection is epic.
I can't see the chat on this phone right here, but thank you, whoever wrote that. I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm not able to see the chat, so I apologize if anyone wrote anything towards me.
That was Ron G, Dale.
Okay, shout out to you, man. Salute. I see you got some nice Funko over there, man.
Hey, I try. You know, we do what we can do. I ain't you a franchise or nothing, but you know, I'm out
here. Shout out to Clint.
You know what I'm saying? I'm out here. Got all my little WWEs behind me. I can't move them or I might die. But
yeah. That you got to be careful with that. It's slippery slope.
Yeah, I fell totally.
Yeah, I wasn't gonna say it, but
yeah, I didn't try to climb out either. I just stayed my ass down there. Like, might as well. But that's crazy,
guys,
man.
I don't mean to be rude or anything, but I gotta run right now. I didn't realize what time it is. I got a few other things I gotta do. But I had a blast with you all. Good seeing you all. My dude, TJP.
DELZ, good to see you.
Yeah, man.
We'll have to catch up some more and connect on some releases and do some stuff. But
yeah, definitely. I'm gonna hit you up about that too, because I got a few things in mind too, man.
I'll send you some of those promo shots of these special boots I got made. So for sure.
Just either DM me, text me, or email me, bro. You got my info.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on.
All right, DELZ.
Easy, DELZ.
Right, we appreciate you coming through, DELZ.
Oh, always. I'm around. I just got to figure out how to get my stinking ass off.
Trapped. He's trapped.
Hit the leave button, bro.
I don't see that.
He's trying so hard, it looks like.
All right, I'm just...
Hey, I got a question, though, while we on the topic. Earlier, TJ, you were talking about creative control.
Yeah.
What type of options do you have in contract negotiations? Is that where you negotiate that? It's like, hey, I need creative control over 70% of what I do, or how does that work?
I mean, the idea of creative control is kind of a funny one. A lot of times, like, we kind of laugh at that idea just because, like, in one sense, everybody has creative control because you could just simply not do what you don't like. But in the other sense, you also can't force them to write and execute on something you want to do. So in a way, nobody really has creative control too. So it's kind of a funny concept in a way. But I think, you know, kind of establishing, coming in the door, you know, where you're like Shawn Michaels is in his DVD, like there's a bit that kind of sums it up a lot, where he was talking about how like tame DX was when he first came back, you know, compared to what it was in 1997. And he had spoke about it on his DVD that when he came back and they were doing it again and reuniting it, and like they would do these skits and they would be kind of like toned down a lot, and there's something like a little bit pushing the envelope. He wouldn't really be on screen or be present for it, and he just simply said, he's like, they know what my line was when I came back in. I'm not the same person, and if they don't like it, I don't have to play ball here, that sort of thing. And I mean, that's really the take that you have to have as a performer. Like, you have to kind of set that tone. You know, some people, it's like, you know, all about proactivity, and you come in and it's like, oh, I'm going to give you 110%. I'm going to be available for everything. I'll be the first one in, last one out, that sort of thing. And that's great. But I think like it's better to execute with that mindset, but to not always, you know, make yourself that available or that flexible, because that just gets taken advantage of, you know? So it's a balancing act as a performer to, like, you know, as would for anything, like if you're an athlete and you know you're a starter and you won't accept a bench job, then don't, you know, like then don't, because you'll find the starting job you want. Otherwise you might end up being a six man for the rest of your life, and you don't want that. You only got one career. Same thing with an actor. You choose the projects you want to work on. If you don't want to be an action star, then you don't take action roles. You know, you take rom-coms, you take other stuff, or vice versa. So it's kind of like coming in the door, you have to kind of know what you're looking at, and then if that's for you, then that's for you. But most guys, it's really about having the courage to walk away if it's not the right situation. So and that's something that everybody kind of learns as they go through their first, second, third wrestling job. You know, they start to kind of get that. They understand like what's a good situation for you and how to manage that.
Cool. Yeah, I've always wondered how that worked out, you know, when it comes to paperwork and all. So
well, I mean, yeah, there's really nothing they could put on paper that would protect you necessarily, because like the language in your contract is always going to be so kind of vague and protective on their end in a way. Like, you know, being, you know, you could have creative control, but there's going to be a section in your contract about like being non-compliant as a performer, for example. Indeed. So if you're simply being difficult, they could cancel your contract based on the fact that you're breaching your contract by being difficult. But what that like what that actually is a gray area. They could say I mean, you could be late for a couple shows and they'll say that's falls under that category. You could say you don't want to do certain stories, that falls under that category. So they might have in one contract that you have creative control, I guess, if they were to add that in, but they're also going to have that other section. So they kind of contradict each other. And at any point, the company's always going to maintain the power to be like, no, we don't, this is no good for us. We're going to be done. Which is fair, you know, I believe in that. Like, you know, we can't have inmates running the asylum, so, you know.
WCW.
Yeah, so, you know, I mean, there's a little bit of both. You kind of just know coming in, you know, especially when you see, like, the type of tax bracket you're in, like, you know, they're not gonna pay you a max contract if they want you to sit on the bench. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Golden State Warriors are not handing out max contracts to guys who are going to be the eighth guy off the bench. Sure. If you get that money, you're starting. You know you are, because they're paying you that money for it. So a lot of times you just simply know by virtue of how they value you, and then you know along with that it's going to come some creative freedom, because you're going to be able to tell them I don't like this, and and they're going to want to use you because they're spending so much money on you. So a lot of it comes down to that.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. You probably get a little more as time goes on, like you kind of saying with Shawn Michaels. I mean, sure he didn't have as much like day one when he got there, but you know, you show the right track record.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but then also too, I mean, like a lot of what we do is predictive. Like a lot of decisions are made and nobody really knows if it's going to work out, or if you're going to get over, if you're going to work like as a product or not, you know. Same thing with signings. And you draft an athlete out of college, like number one overall draft pick, you don't know if they're going to be a bust. You know, they could be Kevin Durant or they could be Bennett. You know, you don't know. You don't know what they're going to end up being. Like, and so in that aspect, it's like, yeah, there's a track record involved, but a lot of times they look at you and they just think, okay, is there enough gray area potential here? Do we want to invest in this? And they'll pull the trigger, yes or no. But like in Sean's case, when he was younger, even when he didn't have that track record, he was willing to walk. If he didn't like it, he'll walk out the door. And I think having that courage as a performer to say, you know what, I know what I can offer, and if you don't want to value this potential, even without the track record, somebody else will, and I'll take it somewhere else. And I think that's a lot of times how guys get preyed upon. If you're not willing to walk away, they'll walk all over you.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Definitely.
And there's a question in there from Derek asking about if there's any wrestlers you worked with that were just difficult. I mean, maybe in just storylines or in the ring, or I'm not sure exactly which aspect he means, but do you have any rough times dealing with anybody in particular? I guess you can hold back the names if you need to, but.
No, I mean, not necessarily. Like, so recently, I remember like, wrestling Twitter was all up in arms over a question I had answered. This wrestler,
I remember,
Ring of Honor, Cheeseburger, had asked or just posed a question to his peers, you know, for other wrestlers out there, like who's the guy you wrestled that you felt like they were way out of your league, and they were kind of beyond you, and you felt overwhelmed. You needed to step up your game and learn more from there or whatever. And like for me, like my answer to that was that I've never had that, not since day one. And by that, I don't mean that like I've always felt like I was better than the other guy, or that I don't learn all the time. I learn from all kinds of people. I just have never felt overwhelmed by anybody because, you know, I put in the work and I have a high aptitude for this, and I have a pretty good natural ability for it, and whatever. Anyway, what I thought was interesting about it, and this is the reason why I bring it up, is that in what we do, that question is kind of asked backwards, because if anything is difficult, or if you can't keep up with a guy, that doesn't mean that they're so much better than you. That means they're not that good, because we're meant to work together. It's not a real competition, you know? So if you're ever in the ring with somebody where you're like, oh man, I can't keep up with this guy, well, then that guy's not doing his job, because his job is to make sure you can keep up with him. That's what a good performer does. So in a way, that's why I feel like I've always been in with really great performers, because even when I'm leading this match or whatever, like I mentioned Jeff Hardy earlier, like I led that match, but he is so good that it was the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. And that's a testament to how good he is. That's why he's a legend. Everybody I've been in the ring with is like that. Mysterio, anybody. And so the idea of somebody being difficult, like I've not really had that, because I do think I'm pretty good at this. But if I have a difficult time in there, I'm not that good at my job then.
Yeah.
Because we have to find a way to make it work in there as a team. And so for me to never have that, like I know that, like, you know, we do our jobs pretty well. So I've never really had anybody that stands out in my mind that has been somebody that's super difficult or anything like that. 'Cause I'm usually my gift as a performer has always been that, like Magic Johnson, like I'm a good setup guy. I've always been really good at getting the best out of other people. Like, I've not always been great at dropping 50 on somebody's head, for example, but I can help get another guy going. That's always been my strength. So I've never had a problem like being able to work with anybody.
That's good. And I was watching it was the Stone Cold podcast with Mark Henry the other day, and he was saying that when there's two guys in the ring, yes, one guy is the one who's going to win and all that stuff, but it's on purpose to kind of get over in that moment to just make sure the other guy is taken care of. You know?
Yeah. I mean, an analogy that I use, because I was using the term quarterback a lot in answering the questions on social media about it. And in a nutshell, it's kind of like, you know, this is how I express it. For some people that assume that meant I was like putting myself above all these people. And I'm saying that's not what it is. Like, I might be on the field with Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice can't throw a touchdown to himself. He still has to have somebody put the ball in the air for him. He's the star player, sure, but I'm saying, like, there still has to be another guy working with him, you know. Kareem doesn't bring the ball up court. Magic will get him the ball. Well, Kareem will drop 40. That's, you know, that's the trade-off. And so I've always been good at setting people up. Sometimes I am the better guy, but a lot of times I just know that that's my strength, and I'm just trying to help the match work. You know, whatever needs to come across, whatever needs to be done, I just make sure that it gets done the right way.
Okay, very fair. Are there any guys that you'd like to maybe see come around in Impact and kind of help you do that with everybody else?
You mean other guys that are good at that like sort of role?
Yeah, guys that you would like to bring into the team if you could.
Gosh, I mean, there's a lot of guys that I really wish, especially with New Japan and Impact working more together with some of the crossover talent. I wish that we could get Rocky Romero over with us. He's, I mean, selfishly, he is like kind of like a brother to me, but he is another guy who has always been like really good at. He's got a brilliant mind for it. He can make any kind of match work with any kind of opponent, and he's so like multi-talented, you know, in any role: commentary, promos, manager, performer, tag wrestler, singles wrestler. He even makes his own music. He's got great style about him. I just think he's a great asset.
Yeah, definitely. I could definitely see that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Oh, I thought there was a question in there. Cold, talking about Stone Cold.
He's like Stone Cold.
Yeah, I mean that attitude era was a pretty popular time. But,
you can't really compare the wrestling to then to like not, you know, now.
Say that again.
I say you really can't compare, you know, the wrestling from the 90s to now.
It's a very it's different.
I mean, context is so different. I mean, even within today's game, like that's why I always find it so silly about, and it's really more of a fan thing. I mean, it's just like it gave me a new appreciation being a wrestler, especially at this level. Like when I see, like for example, like NBA Twitter when they're like, "Who's your Mount Rushmore?" and I'm like, having kind of lived through this, where I'm like a player that gets ranked by people in wrestling. When I look back and try to do that for like sports or something, I'm like, how could you, like, it doesn't make any sense because the context is so different, you know?
Yeah.
And like, even with wrestling now, like, even if I take guys in this generation, like guys are in different companies in different crowds, working with different storylines. Like you can't compare, like, cause you don't know what they're working with. Like, so you definitely can't compare generations because the context is so far separated, you know?
They were coming at it from different angles. I mean, that was very much like what you see happening, kind of like the storylines and stuff, whereas others kind of are getting by with telling that story in the ring, like through their own ability, you know?
I mean, even like two guys doing a match, like, I mean, like, take like, I don't know, Kenny and Okada. Like everybody really loves the series of matches that they've had, and they've all been great. But like taking a match, like any one of the matches that they had, you put that match in front of a different crowd on a different night of the week, on a different night, just for them in general. They don't perform the same. It might not be received the same. It might not be digested the same. It might not come off the same way, and it might be better or worse. You never know. That's how delicate the context is over these performances, and if you swap out other guys in that equation or other promotions, other matches, like, I mean, there's so much context that doesn't match up square that you can't compare. It either works or it doesn't, you know?
You got different fan bases, people expecting different things, which is one of the good things about having the different promotions and even different people within them. Like whatever you yourself are looking for out of wrestling, it's out there somewhere. And you've got some choices. You can go find it wherever that may be.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Good. It makes me a little awkward sometimes. Like I want to watch. There's only so much time in the week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you start to do the math and you realize, okay, well, if these guys are on for 2 hours on whatever day, these guys are on for 4 hours through the whole week. It's just there's a lot out there. You know, you can try. Some of it, but it's cool. I mean, again, like with shoes, like there's a lot of stuff coming out that I would like to pick up, sure, but how much of it am I really going to walk away with?
All of it. All of it.
Right, maybe I have the wrong outlook. Maybe I'm defeating myself. But I mean, sneakers also has a hand.
I got you though. Yeah, I got you.
All right, TJP, got a question for you. Knowing that, you know, you're a Dodgers fan.
Yeah.
what is your feeling behind the whole Astros and Dodgers situation?
Oh man. So I don't go as far as saying like, well, we should just be considered like the 2017 World Series champs or whatever the case is, you know. Because if you don't cross the finish line, then you can't award that. Mm-hmm. But I do think that given the circumstances and given everything that's come out and the story that's now been pieced together and everything that we know, I don't think that it's unreasonable to vacate that year. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that you should just award it to the Dodgers, but I do think that maybe that year, maybe it shouldn't be the Astros, and the next year maybe it shouldn't be the Red Sox or whatever the case is. Like, I think you should at least be able to vacate it, like not just give it away. Like, I don't think we earned it, but I think that like at this point it's enough to say, okay, well, you can't just keep that trophy because of that. And that's about as far as I think of it. I mean, outside of that, I mean, different season, different year, you know, some players are different, you know, so like whatever. Now it's like, I just look at it like it never happened anymore, you know, but that's about as far as I think of it. Is I feel like those titles should at least be vacated, but I wouldn't award it to anybody. And when I watch the games now, I don't have any holdover narrative. Like the other day when the Astros were playing Dodgers, was like a 2-game series. I didn't think like, okay, like we should be firing balls at everybody's head or anything like that. Maybe Altuve. I don't know.
I mean, I understand the whole hitting the players, thing. I mean, it comes with the whole cheating thing, especially me being from Houston. But I don't think they should really aim for the head, because you can actually kill somebody, with a 95, miles per hour ball.
Yeah, and I remember one time there was a Dodgers-Phillies game in the playoffs, and there was a retaliation hit on, God, I can't remember his name, from the Phillies. He played shortstop. His name was, Shane something. I can't remember his last name now. This was years back. I mean, maybe 2010 or something like that, 2008, 2009. And I remember we retaliation hit him, or we tried to, but it was high. I mean, it almost hit him in the helmet. And he got up, and he didn't charge the mounds, and he wasn't really hot about it. He just literally kind of had this conversation at a distance on camera with the pitcher. He was like, all right, if you want to hit me, go ahead, but hit me in the hip. Don't hit me in the head. You can hit me in the, like, I get it. Like we kind of fucked you on something, whatever, but hit me here. Don't like end my career. And so that, I think that's fair. I thought the Joe Kelly stuff was kind of funny, only because nothing happened.
He was a Red Sox.
He wasn't on the team that got screwed, but also nothing happened. Like, nobody really got hit, and all that happened was a strikeout. So it was like the equivalent of somebody being mad over a bat flip. Like, I was like, what are you guys fighting over? Like, this is ridiculous. Yeah. So, I mean, that's really about it. I mean, to me, it's all new season now, so I don't really think about it that much.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I feel a certain way about that championship, just being from Houston, especially it was 2017. Houston was underwater that year. So, I mean, that championship meant a lot.
And it's tough. I can only imagine for a Houston fan, like, you want to be able to appreciate it, but the way that the narrative has been created, and even I guess even what the truth and reality of it is, like, it's hard to appreciate it, but it sucks because if you're a fan, you want to be able to appreciate that. So, like, I kind of feel for Houston fans, because it's like, I mean, they weren't the ones banging on trash cans, so it's not like that's their fault. They wanted to celebrate a World Series win. And the Astros are a good team. It's not like they're not a good team, Yeah. That's the tough part about it, is like, they are a World Series caliber team. So it's like, you want to be able to just be proud of that with no attachments. And it sucks because that is baggage that I guess will come with it. I mean, it's like if you're a Giants fan, and I'm not even obviously I'm a Giants hater because I'm a Dodger fan, but like, I always thought Barry Bonds is an incredible player. But it's hard because, I think he's probably the greatest of all time, but like, there's so much baggage associated with him that it's like, it's hard to just simply enjoy him, because somebody's always going to say, yeah, but this. And it's like, but nothing, man. He's a great player. Let me just enjoy it. So same thing with Astros. Like, it's a great team. Like, it sucks because, like, it's hard to appreciate that title for Houston fans, but you know,
No,
you
not
guys
just
should
the
be able to-
title.
But,
Not just
yeah.
the title, but as well as the legacy. Because I mean,
Yeah.
you go back
Yeah.
the history as far as how many Astros players. You're talking about the three Bs. Lance Berkman, Craig Biggio,
Biggio, yeah.
Jeff Bagwell, and
yeah.
their history is kind of pushed back because all people are focusing on is they cheated and that's it. Astros are cheaters. That's it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I'm afraid that a
tough.
few years down the line, there might even if every single player that was on that World Series team is gone, they're still going to be labeled as cheaters.
I mean, I kind of feel like it's sort of like the New England Patriots sort of thing, right? Like they I mean, they would have responded to this anyway in the same way, but like the response to anything about the Patriots was they just kept winning. So it's like, whatever. So Patriots fans at a certain point, they just have to tune it out. And they're like, whatever. I don't care. We got 5 rings. Like, I don't care what you guys say about it. Like we won and we're winning. Like, so I feel like, if Houston just continues to play well and you dominate in the future, then I think Houston fans just got to just simply be proud of it and just like no apologies, just be proud of it, because I know as an LA fan, if the roles were reversed, I wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, what, I don't care.
Yeah.
We won, that's it. So like if the Lakers win the title in the bubble this year, everybody's like, oh, maybe it's an asterisk. I don't give a shit. We win, I'm happy. So I think that's the best way to look at it.
And I think the best way you should look at it, TJP, is if the Lakers win, they win. If not, the Rockets. I understand you got 2 players over
Honestly,
there.
If the Lakers get bounced from the playoffs prematurely in an upset and the Rockets are still alive, I absolutely am rooting for Harden and Westbrook, 100%.
All right, and now since we got you're an LA fan and we got McFly that's a Charlotte fan, McFly, you've probably been asked this question before, but how do you feel to this day about that Kobe trade?
What can you do, man?
Well, I mean, I don't know. Like, have you guys seen the Sonny Vaccaro documentary, Soul Man?
No.
So like, that's the thing is like, it's weird because I know Kobe before, like he would play it up like, oh, the Hornets shouldn't have slept on me, but I always would laugh at that because the plan was never for the Hornets to draft him. The Lakers asked the Hornets to draft him, so like it's not like the Hornets were ever going to keep Kobe. They didn't even want him. Like
he wasn't going to play anyway.
Yeah, the Lakers drafted him. They just used the Hornets draft spot to do it. So that's why I always think it's funny when people are like they'll ask Carolina fans or something like, "Oh, doesn't it hurt to not have?" But you wouldn't have had Kobe. That was the point. They were just trading up to get him.
And at that time, we had a decent team, so it's not like we really needed him.
Yeah, and I remember too, because in that documentary they cover it because Sonny Vaccaro is the guy that recruited Jordan for Nike and he recruited Kobe for Adidas after he moved on to Adidas. So he tells the whole story of like he watched Jerry West scout Kobe in training sessions when Kobe was still in high school. He would work out with like Byron Scott and like pro players and be running them off the court. So he knew years before he was drafted that Kobe was going to be the guy. So he was trying to recruit him to Adidas. And he remember, and they cover it in the documentary, him and Kobe's parents, they literally like constructed him being drafted by the Lakers. They told every team after the Sixers, if you even think about drafting Kobe before he gets to the Hornets so that the Lakers can trade up and swap Divac for him, he's not going to play. So like New Jersey really wanted him. And New Jersey was like, we need a shooting guard. And we know he's like a hometown guy from Philly. So he's right next door to us. Like he'll be a big star here. We want him. And Kobe and Sonny Vaccaro, his agent, everybody said, if you draft him, he's going to go play in Italy where his dad played. He's going to withdraw. He's going to the Lakers and that's it. And because Adidas wanted LA money, they wanted that LA advertisement for the shoes. So like, yeah, he was never going to be a Hornet or anything, which is, it's funny because a lot of people think like, oh, maybe he would have been on another team, but he was never going to be.
Indeed. That destination was set, like you said. It was all predetermined.
Yeah.
All right. Guys, got any more questions for TJP?
I mean, this is talking about wrestling, I could go all night, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
That's for me.
Yeah.
In there, like
Well, I do gotta run in a little bit here. I got some pigs. I gotta feed them their late night meal. But I'd be happy to do this again sometime. This was a lot of fun.
Hey man, I appreciate you coming through, man. We'll definitely hit you back up to do another episode.
Awesome. Well, thanks very much for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
And you're in Vegas, right,
Thank you.
TJP?
Yeah.
I'll be up there in November.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hey, but like I said, man, if you're ever in Houston, you need a barber, I got you, man.
I'll definitely hit you up.
Hopefully,
Thanks very much, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, we'll go ahead and live. I appreciate everyone in the chat that came through. Appreciate McFly,
There's
Shoes
one
up,
last
please,
question.
down.
They want to know
Go
if
ahead,
they
Shoes up.
from the ropes.
What's up? I'm sorry.
I said there was one last question that just popped up. Someone wanted to know, does it hurt when you jump from the high ropes?
Yeah, my knees are killing me.
There you go.
All right, man. Appreciate McFly, Shoes Up, Sleeves Down, our mystery guest, DJ DELZ, and of course, the one and only TJP.
Thanks, guys.
Make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Everyone's links will be in the description, including TJP's merch site. Pick up some dope merch from TJP, that Detonation Kick shirt. And yeah, man, we out.
Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate it.